while back, I was thinking about if someone put a mic up to my face right now and told me name your like top 15 or so favorite games of all time, what would they be? And so it was just like kind of random, but because of that, I was just prompted to go back, think of all the games I played. And there was this one game which I played on the N64 NSO, and I was thinking to myself that like I kind of didn't remember the plot at all. So a while later, I decided to boot up 64 NSO one more time, and turns out Sin and Punishment is a rail shooter developed by Treasure, released by Nintendo and Treasure in the year 2000. Now, I don't really know what other games Treasure has put out, and aside from Star Fox, I'm not like a big rail shooter Andy. I couldn't tell you what a Panzer Dragoon is, but I will say this in Star Fox. One of like the specific ways this shooter sort of stands out is in its controls, because the basic controls is you use the joystick to move and use like on the N64 controller, I think it's the D-pad originally. I played NSO, so different controls, but like yeah, you use the D-pad to sort of move left and right and like dodge enemy attacks. So the base controls in themselves are like pretty unique. Also consider the fact that like you've also got locking mode, which is basically like self-explanatory. Normal shooting mode, which like does a bit more damage. Got just a very advanced gameplay system, you know? The game sort of capitalizes on the diversity using its different gameplay modes. The usual is just like you're walking forward and you dodge left and right the bullet. Sometimes there's like moments where you just kind of stand still, and there's one like mission which is basically you're on like a floating rock and like you're shooting all the enemies. It reminds me of like some sections from Star Fox Assault where like you're on the wings of someone's ship and you're shooting down enemies. There's another like section which is a vertical view. Basically you use a D-pad buttons to like move forward and back. And it's initially sort of revealed sort of boss fight, so like that kind of reminds me of a fighting game. And then after that, in the mission, it's sort of expanded further. Because of all the platforming stuff going on, it sort of reminds me a bit like Super Mario. And then there's just the aesthetic, which is blessing your eyes right now. If I had to describe the aesthetic with the music genre, I'd probably describe it with thrash metal, which is good because I love thrash metal. The opening sort of dream sequence reminds me a lot of the cover of Master of Puppets. And the urban architecture present in parts of the game also remind me of the album cover for Xentrix is to huge advantage, because I can imagine the man on the cover with like the 5-pound note hands just sort of holding his hands out like in front of those buildings, you know? I'd also be remiss if I were to miss the whole Evangelion-ness of the whole thing, which like, Evangelion is good. You should watch Evangelion. Unless you like kids, you just low-key have too much of that kind of person around, you know? Time to talk about the story, which, to be honest, is a bit confusing because A, everything is just happening so far, just right at you, right at you, right at you. B, the voice acting, because the localization thing is a bit complicated. It was released in Japan with like English voice acting because they were trying to go for like a Western market, but it didn't release in the West. There are three main groups in the story. First of all, they're the ruffians. They're basically weird monster things which like humanity has engineered to sort of eat and like deal with the ongoing apocalyptic famine which is going on in 2007. And then we have the armed volunteers, which basically they're fighting against the ruffians, but they're sort of corrupt and like they're just doing 1984 on people. And then you have like the group which you basically play as, formed of Aichi, Saki, and Aran. Basically, spoiler alert, Aichi is sort of manipulating the two to do some Evangelion stuff and like defends against a threat which is like revealed in the credits. It's probably worth noting I haven't played Star Successors, so like I actually don't know what this threat is. I'll get around to doing it, hopefully. But basically, the whole thing is like they're fighting against both the ruffians and the armed volunteers. And Saki, within the battle, unintentionally morphs into like a big ruffian form. And there's like a cool battle with that, and like it's kind of, as I said, Evangelion-esque, you know? There's a quest where Iron basically has to shoot Aichi. Aichi has to place her in a coma in Long Island, where basically she meets her son Issa. She bites the bullet, she shoots him, and it's revealed that like Aichi is actually doing all this BS, and there's a whole sequence. And like, yeah, she meets Saki in this new Earth, and like they get out of there to like stop the destruction of the old Earth. It's a Yeah, as I said, it's kind of like Evangelion-esque in the way, a bit complicated. It's like still like I still fuck with Evangelion, so like I fuck with this. Anyways, this game got a sequel for the Wii in 2009, Star Successor. As I said earlier, I need to play, and it's kind of the series just been dead. If Star Fox fans thought they had it rough, at least they get a remake of like their best game, you know. But anyways, yeah, Star Successor, like, as I said, I need to finish. Actually, I just need to start. Like, it's just, like, on my list of shooters I need to finish, along with my replay of Assault, Star Fox 2, and not Adventures. But I have my reasons as to why I don't fuck with Adventures. And, in conclusion, I've heard people don't like Star Fox Command. Is it just because, like, it's just a bad game, or did the endings sort of ruin everything and, like, make the whole series a complicated mess to reboot? Please tell me.